Every day, it seems, this war spreads somewhere new. Today, it was the Azerbaijani enclave of Nakhchivan, an airport terminal hit by an Iranian drone. Then a second strikes nearby, that one close to a school. Children's screams audible from inside. 4 people were injured in the attack, which Azerbaijan says came after it had agreed to help Iran evacuate its diplomats from Lebanon.
In return for all of this, to strike Nakhchivan in an ugly, cowardly and shameless manner, this stain will never be erased from their ugly and unsightly face.
But Iran seems to be seeking maximum chaos and disruption. Azerbaijani airspace had been acting as a narrow diversion route for air traffic trying to avoid wars in Ukraine and Iran. Shipping traffic also under Iranian assault. 2 oil tankers attacked today in the northern Gulf. Lloyd's insurance market says 1,000 ships, $25 billion worth, are currently stuck in the Gulf, with Iran reiterating that it controls the narrow Strait of Hormuz. And another attack this afternoon on Bahrain, missiles targeting a refinery belonging to the national oil company.
My God.
The fear in the region that Iran will still be able to launch drones, even as its missiles and launchers are depleted and destroyed. And to someone who knows something about Iranian-designed Shahed drones, Volodymyr Zelensky confirming today that the US administration, so capricious in its own assistance to Ukraine, had asked for Ukrainian help in defending against drone attacks in the Middle East.
Qatar, Emirates, Bahrain.
He said he'd been talking with all Middle Eastern leaders, conversations that showed everyone needed air defense. Ukrainian specialists, he said, were on the way. In Iran today, no let-up in the US-Israeli assault. This said to be a strike on a Revolutionary Guards facility in Bushehr. A series of sporting arenas also hit, this one in Tehran, the suggestion that regime forces might be using them. Iran's state media posted this video, which it said showed the aftermath of an attack in West al-Haramabad, entitling it Gifts from America. America's objective in launching this war again seeming to shift today. President Trump telling Reuters the US would have a role in selecting Iran's new leader. Earlier this week, he speculated about someone as bad as the previous leader taking over. And he started the war telling Iranians once it was over, the government would be theirs for the taking. In northern Israel, more forces arriving ahead of a push deeper into Lebanon, targeting Hezbollah fighters. Further north, panic and gridlock in the capital, Beirut, after an unprecedented Israeli pre-bombing evacuation warning, encompassing virtually the entire southern half of the city. And tonight, similar, if smaller scale warnings for people in Tehran, telling civilians to get out of industrial zones. A war broadening beyond Iran's borders, expanding also within them.
Well, let's look in more depth now at what is happening in Lebanon and those people fleeing Beirut's southern suburbs after Israeli warnings. Our international editor, Lindsay Hilsum, is in Beirut. Lindsay.
Krishnan, Beirut is very tense tonight, full of foreboding, as everyone is expecting a major Israeli bombing tonight. Now, earlier in the day, one of the most extreme ministers in the Israeli government, the finance minister, Mr. Smotrich, was up on the Lebanese border. He said that they were going to reduce Dahia to Khan Yunis. Khan Yunis is part of Gaza which was absolutely leveled. Now, Dahia is the suburb which is where Hezbollah has a stronghold. But of course, it's absolutely full of civilians. There are about 500,000, maybe more there. And they started to flee today. They're coming to the center of Beirut where we are. Some of them are sleeping on the seafront, on the Corniche. Others are finding just wherever they can to sleep because they don't know where to go. The government here has said that they might have to open stadia to accommodate them. Beirut has never seen anything quite like this because the Israelis have never before threatened to basically flatten a whole suburb. It's like telling the people of Croydon to leave or the people of Sheffield. We're talking about that number of people being told that they must go or else they risk death. So people here are absolutely terrified, and the government which has said to Hezbollah that it should stop firing over the border into Israel, that it should end this, well, Hezbollah is taking absolutely no notice. This front in this war is getting worse, and the people of Beirut are absolutely dreading this night to come.
Lindsay Hilson. Well, Iranian Kurdish militant groups based in Iraq's Kurdish region have denied claims that they have begun a ground incursion into Iran. Reports emerged on US media yesterday, and today Donald Trump said he would back Kurds launching an invasion. Our foreign affairs correspondent Porrick O'Brien joins us from Erbil. Porrick.
Krish, unusually, I have to report on something that hasn't actually happened, or at least hasn't happened yet. Let me explain. A number of American and Israeli outlets last night reported that a ground offensive had begun, spearheaded by Kurdish militant groups, that they were moving into western Iran. The implication of the reporting was that they were doing so at the behest of the Americans to open up a new front in this war. Now, as soon as that news came through, our team here in Erbil started to ring all the relevant Kurdish groups, and one by one they denied that. They said, no, we are not on an offensive tonight. We are not involved in this. Why does that story matter? It matters because it speaks to how incredibly fraught and delicate things are here along the Iranian border. Cue a whole flurry of diplomatic activity. Yesterday, ministers from the Kurdish regional government started to reach out to their counterparts in Turkey, Iran, and other countries to try and calm fears. The Kurdish regional government here are determined not to get dragged into this conflict. So it speaks to how fraught things are on the border, but also, I have to say, it speaks to the idea that disinformation in the current climate of this conflict is potentially as explosive as the ordnance coming down from the sky.
Porrick O'Brien in Erbil. Well, Sir Keir Starmer has pushed back against criticism that Britain was not sufficiently prepared to protect bases in the Middle East. At a press conference, he announced that 4 fighter jets will be sent to Qatar to bolster defensive operations. And he said that the delayed first government-chartered flight had taken off from Oman, bringing stranded British citizens home. Paul McNamara is at the crisis centre in the Foreign Office for us now. Paul.
Yeah, we are deep underground in the belly of the Foreign Office, in the heart of the government's operation to get Brits back from abroad. It's a 24-hour-a-day operation run over 3 shifts. We've got diplomats from the Foreign Office, we've got military planners, we've got people from Border Force, the Home Office, Department for Transport. That's a humanitarian desk behind me. We've got consular services there. We've got logistics next to me. And just at the front of the operation, we've got live flight tracker information. In the last 24 hours, this team has got 4,000 people back from the region. And I understand that yesterday, the Foreign Secretary met with the Chief Executive of British Airways, agreeing a new route from Muscat to the UK every day. Now, I understand from senior sources that the government is actually preparing to operate at this heightened level for the next 4 weeks based on assessments of Iranian munitions. The war effort is clearly cross-government. This is firing on all cylinders, but there have been questions about government preparedness and how quickly they have responded to all of this. Today, the Prime Minister has announced 4 more Typhoon jets to the region. He said that, we've actually been sending them for the weeks gone by. But we now know that the warship, which is meant to be on its way to the region, well, the head of the armed forces didn't receive a request for that until Tuesday, 4 days into the war. It has also been reported now that while a formal request from the US to use British bases for defensive strikes came over the weekend, before then, according to The Spectator and confirmed to this programme by 2 sources, the Prime Minister walked into a meeting of the National Security Council last Friday intending to give precautionary permission in the event of Iranian reprisals for British bases to be used for defensive action, but was overruled by Ed Miliband and other cabinet ministers. Earlier, I put it to the Prime Minister and asked if that was true, if on Friday he had his mind changed by Ed Miliband.
No request from the US came in the specific terms that we acceded until Saturday afternoon. Saturday afternoon. Well, just hear me out. On Friday, we didn't have a request from the United States, and therefore no decision fell to be made. The decision fell to be made when we had the request. That was Saturday afternoon. We then worked it through. Decision on Sunday, which was a decision of all ministers, unanimous, that we should take the action that I then announced.
Well, a short while ago, I spoke to the Foreign Office Minister with responsibility for the Middle East, Hamish Faulkner, and I asked him, given all the indications that the US was preparing for war against Iran, why were the Royal Navy not ready to be deployed to Cyprus?
We have had a steady increase in the necessary capability since January. That includes, as the Prime Minister said earlier, radar, air defence, a whole range of things. The decision was taken to send HMS Duncan forward in recent days. That was taken very rapidly after a further request was made. Well, we have had the capabilities that we needed. The CDS and defence ministers have taken a rapid decision when they got a further request.
The feeling is it looks weak.
Defence ministers and CDS have been keen to ensure that the right capabilities were in place at the right time. That's what they've been doing. And when there was a further request, they answered it very quickly.
OK, our closest ally is now at war, and the Prime Minister says he wants them to de-escalate and negotiate. So can you be very clear what our position is? Is it that you don't think they can win militarily and achieve their aims, or that you don't want them to?
So, Christian, it's been a long-standing position of successive British governments that we want to see the threats from Iran dealt with properly. We have long thought that diplomacy is the best way to deal with the nuclear weapon question. We've supported those efforts. And the Prime Minister has explained why we chose deliberately not to be part of the initial strikes by the US and Israel, but why we have chosen to give specific and limited agreement in order that the United States can use British air bases to degrade as quickly as possible the capabilities of Iran, including ballistic missile launchers pointed at our friends and partners in the region.
But our closest ally is at war. Do we want them to win?
We are working closely with the United States. We do not have to have exactly the same policy on every question with the United States to continue to work incredibly closely with them. And of course, we do not want to see any Americans harmed.
Now, Donald Trump has just given an interview in which he says he should be involved in choosing the next leader of Iran. Is that acceptable?
So I've been on air, I think, as this interview has come out, so I'm not going to comment on an interview I haven't seen. But let me just be clear about what Britain wants from any Iranian government. We do not want an Iranian government that threatens British nationals on these streets. We do not want an Iranian government pursuing nuclear weapons. We do not want an Iranian government recklessly attacking its neighbours, and we do not want an Iranian government supporting proxies. That is our clear and long-standing position.
Just finally, Donald Trump has also been very, very critical again of the Chagos Islands deal, calling it, that stupid island. You were contradicted by the government and the Foreign Office when you seemed to just reveal the truth, which is that the process is on pause. It is on pause now, isn't it? Because it can't go ahead without American agreement.
Their position has changed in recent weeks, as you've seen. So it's right that we are in discussions with them. I think I was clear in Parliament last week that those discussions continue, and the legislative process underpinning it here in this country continues too.
Hamish Faulkner, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, earlier I spoke to the Spanish Culture Minister, Ernest Utterson. I asked him why Spain's Prime Minister had been so vocal in opposing the United States attacking Iran.
Well, I think there's a moment where democratic countries who believe in international law and multilateralism have to stand up. There's no other choice. I mean, if we just accept one after the other all the vulnerations and dismiss of international law in every scene, what kind of world are we going to build in the 21st century? I mean, at a certain moment, we need to say no. We need to say stop. And like the UK, in Spain has a very strong memory of what happened with the illegal war of aggression to Iraq in 2004. We learned from that lesson, and we are not going to repeat that mistake again.
Who else in Europe agrees with you, do you think? And is there any kind of international coalition being gathered to try and stop the aggression?
Well, I think that there is a growing sense at EU level that it's completely useless to continue appealing to Donald Trump's vanity or personal interests. I mean, this is over. I mean, I think that many people in Europe are now describing a Spanish position as realist, because at a certain moment, you cannot accept to play down your own values and your own interests just because you want to please Donald Trump. That thing is over. And secondly, I think, and this is very important, what happens if we accept these kind of vulnerations of international law? What will happen, for instance, to our positions in defending Denmark's territorial integrity?
Did you feel betrayed by the German Chancellor as he sat next to Donald Trump and said nothing to defend Spain? He left you hanging.
Well, I'm not going to comment about that meeting. This is up to Chancellor Merz. But what I can say is that we have felt a very strong European solidarity after the trade comments by Donald Trump. I mean, you probably heard in the last hours, Vice President of the European Commission, Stéphane Séjourné, he was very strong saying that any attack to the trade interests of Spain is an attack to the whole EU, because, as you know, trade policy belongs to the European Union and the European Commission. So we feel supported and we feel protected.
So is it your belief that Trump can't target Spain? I mean, he suggested he wanted to sort of cut off all your trade.
Well, look, how serious can you take these threats after the US Supreme Court decided to just vote down anything that he decided in the past when it comes to tariffs? I mean, it's very difficult now to take seriously these kind of threats. So that is not something that we are afraid of.
The war is on, and theoretically at least, the United States is your ally. Are you saying you want them to lose?
We just want to de-escalate. I mean, the Spanish government position has been very clear. And we have learned from the past there were other ways of dealing with the Iranian nuclear program. And I am afraid that this war of aggression is only going to make things worse also inside Iran. So what are we calling now as the Spanish government is for de-escalation, to try to stop the different military actions that are being developed at the moment and to resume talks and dialogue. This is what we're aiming for.
Ernest Utterson, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for calling.